Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're tackling a really interesting set of ideas. It's all focused on how different theories and therapies actually inform the way nurses approach mental health care.
Yeah, exactly. Think of this as your shortcut, to understanding the core principles guiding mental health support.
Right. For you, the learner, this deep dive should illuminate the diverse approaches you'll encounter out there in mental health.
Our goal is really to give you a solid foundation for understanding these various interventions and, maybe more importantly, the why behind them.
We'll try to cut through the jargon, highlight those aha moments.
And our main source today is excerpts from NURS126-Psych Chapter 3.
Yeah, this material lays out several key theoretical models, therapeutic approaches too, that are just fundamental to psychiatric nursing.
Okay, let's dive in.
Let's do it. Starting with those core theories and how they actually shape nursing care on the ground.
Well, it's fascinating, isn't it, how these sort of abstract theories play out in very practical ways. Take behavioral theory. It's all about reinforcement.
Like gold stars.
Kind of. Our source mentions how simple, positive feedback can be super effective, especially with kids, encouraging those desired behaviors.
Right.
It's a tangible application of learning principles. But an interesting part is the need to gradually reduce that external reward.
Ah, so they don't become dependent on it.
Exactly. You want the behavior itself to become rewarding,
Mm-hmm.
lasting change.
Makes sense. Okay, then there's cognitive theory. This one really emphasizes the power of our thoughts.
The chapter highlights how identifying negative thought patterns is, well, crucial for better mental well-being.
And it can even affect brain chemistry.
That's what the theory suggests, yeah? And the mention of the workbooks. That's a direct application.
Right. Tools to help people actively examine and reframe those unhelpful thoughts. It really makes you think about our internal dialogue.
It really does. And, connecting this to the bigger picture, it underscores that mind-body connection. By helping patients with their thought patterns, nurses can support positive shifts emotionally and even neurobiologically.
So how do nurses empower patients to use these tools consistently, not just in a session?
That's the key question, isn't it? It's about supporting that ongoing use, making it a habit.
Okay. Next up, Erikson's theory of psychosocial development. This helps us understand life stages.
Yeah, the different challenges and opportunities each stage brings. The example in the chapter is quite impactful. An older adult post-stroke.
Right. They might feel despair if they can't manage things at home anymore.
Understandably so. But what's important is how nursing care, guided by Erikson, can shift the focus.
How so?
Well, instead of just dwelling on lost abilities, you emphasize remaining strengths and set achievable goals.
Like getting the mail. Or tutoring.
Exactly. Simple things that provide a renewed sense of purpose. It helps them navigate that later life stage, finding new ways to feel fulfilled.
It's really about tailoring the approach to where someone is in their life journey.
Precisely. And then, of course, there's Maslow's hierarchy of needs. This one feels very fundamental.
Especially for prioritizing care.
Like, absolutely. The chapter makes a critical point. If someone has active suicidal thoughts, safety trumps everything. Self-esteem comes later.
That has to be the first step.
Unquestionably. Maslow gives us that clear framework. Basic physical needs, safety, that's the foundation.
But it's not just about the basics.
No, and the source rightly points that out. While medication, hydration, those things are critical, comprehensive care means hitting those higher needs too.
Like listening, collaboration.
Exactly. Actively listening, observing carefully, genuinely collaborating on the care plan. It's about the whole person.
Okay, so those are some foundational theories. Now, let's shift gears a bit and delve into something really significant. The mental health recovery model.
Ah, yes. This marks a really fundamental shift in thinking. It's interesting, the move away from just focusing on a cure.
Right, towards adaptive living.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Living fulfilling lives with chronic conditions, maybe mental illness or substance use disorders. It's about quality of life, self-determination.
The chapter contrasts it with the traditional medical model, where the patient might be more passive.
Thinking, they want me to take this medication.
Compared to the recovery model, which encourages participation. Like the example, I will discuss side effects, then talk to my nurse practitioner.
That perfectly illustrates the empowerment shift. Agency, responsibility.
So what are the core principles?
Well, it emphasizes hope, vital social connections, empowerment, coping strategies, and finding meaning and purpose.
Even with ongoing challenges.
Especially then. It fosters resilience, self-direction, and this isn't some fringe idea, It's recognized by the American Psychiatric Association. It guides U.S. Department of Health and Human Services initiatives. all aimed at empowering people and reducing stigma.
And for nurses, this means the therapeutic relationship evolves, too.
Definitely. Paplaw's work established that crucial interpersonal connection. The recovery model builds on that, moving towards a more collaborative nurse-patient partnership.
Working alongside the individual.
Exactly. Not just doing for them.
Yeah.
It requires valuing their lived experience, their preferences. Yeah. A real shift from a purely expert-driven approach.
Okay. Now let's move on to another powerful tool. Group therapy.
Group therapy. The power of connection.
Our source says it's often rooted in interpersonal theory that interaction within a group provides support and sparks change.
Makes sense. And the definition is simple, right? Two or more individuals influencing each other.
Yeah. What's really insightful is how groups themselves tend to evolve. Tuckman's model.
Oh, yes, that's a great framework. You have the forming stage, like infancy, defining purpose, seeking acceptance.
Then storming, the tricky adolescent phase.
Yeah, conflicts, power struggles can emerge. A good leader acknowledges different views, finds common ground to avoid getting stuck.
Right. Then it moves into norming, like early adulthood, establishing rules, shared identity.
And finally, performing, mature adulthood, loyalty, productivity. It's interesting how leadership styles adapt too.
Yeah, that makes sense.
And let's not forget adjourning or mourning, acknowledging the end, the sense of loss. Understanding these stages helps nurses leading groups anticipate things.
And provide the right support. Beyond stages, the chapter talks about member roles.
You've got task roles keeping the group focused, like the coordinator or initiator.
And maintenance roles, keeping things smooth, like the encourager or harmonizer.
But critically, you also have to watch for individual roles. These can actually hinder the group.
Like the blocker.
Or
the monopolizer.
Exactly. Or the aggressor, the help seeker who derails things. Recognizing these helps the leader intervene effectively.
Gently guide things back.
Right. Like saying, let's make sure we hear from everyone if someone's dominating.
And the leader's role itself, defining structure, facilitating communication.
Summarizing accomplishments at the end. And the style, autocratic, democratic, laissez-faire, needs to fit the group.
So more directive for a quick community meeting, maybe.
Yeah. Exactly. Versus more democratic or laissez-faire for, say, an educational or creative group where you want more member input.
And the chapter lists different types. Educational, task, support, therapy groups.
Each with its own purpose and typical leadership. It's a good overview.
Then we get to Yalom's curative factors. This is where you really see the magic of groups.
Absolutely. Things like altruism gaining purpose by helping others in the group.
Cohesiveness. That feeling of belonging.
Interpersonal learning, gaining insights about yourself through interactions, like realizing a communication pattern after feedback.
Yeah, that can be powerful.
And guidance, getting suggestions from others. Catharsis, releasing pent-up emotions safely. Identification, modeling after others.
And universality, that feeling of, I'm not alone.
Such a comforting realization. These factors really highlight the unique benefits group therapy offers.
And nurses are central to this. PMHRNs, the psychiatric mental health registered nurses.
Right. They often lead psychoeducational groups, medication education, dual diagnosis support, symptom management, stress management, self-care.
And PMH-APRNs, the advanced practice nurses, can lead deeper psychotherapy groups.
Correct. They have more specialized training for that deeper reflection. And co-leadership is often beneficial too.
For training, feedback, role modeling.
Exactly. It shows the diverse ways nurses use group therapy, from practical skills to deeper exploration.
Okay, let's switch focus slightly to the therapeutic milieu.
The environment itself as therapy.
Right. Creating a healthy environment and social structure, inpatient or outpatient.
The main goal is a safe space to test new behaviors, improve social interaction.
Community or goal-setting meetings seem key here.
They really are. Usually daily, patients and the team together. They help with orientation, engagement, program evaluation.
And nurses often lead these.
Very often. It puts them in a prime spot to see group dynamics and give feedback.
And beyond those meetings, there are other milieu groups.
Yeah, aimed at boosting self-esteem, decreasing isolation, teaching living skills, often co-led by nurses with occupational or recreational therapists.
Like rec therapy, physical activity, creative arts.
Exactly. It's about the whole environment supporting healing, not just isolated sessions.
Okay. Now let's consider the family unit family therapy.
Right. This emerged mid-20th century, often alongside individual treatment.
And the focus is the whole family as the client.
Using various models to tackle unhelpful interaction patterns. The chapter introduces some really key concepts here.
Boundaries.
Yes. Are they clear? Too blurry or enmeshed? Too rigid or disengaged? That's huge in family function.
And triangulation.
That's when a third person gets pulled into a two-person conflict, like a child caught between fighting parents.
Okay. And scapegoating. Double binds.
Scapegoating is blaming one member for everything. Double bind is getting contradictory messages really confusing.
There's also hierarchy, differentiation.
Understanding the family structure, how individuals develop their own identity while staying connected.
And considering sociocultural context, multi-generational issues.
All vital. The goals are really about improving communication, managing challenges like trauma or illness, making the home environment better.
Shifting those unhelpful patterns, mobilizing strengths, boosting problem solving as a family unit.
Exactly. It's about the system.
Okay, finally, let's briefly touch on complementary and alternative treatments.
An area seeing growing interest in mental health.
Our source mentions the National Center for Complementary and Integrative Health definition, practices not typically part of conventional medicine.
And the terminology is helpful. Complementary means in addition to conventional care,
while integrative implies a coordinated approach combining both.
Right. The chapter acknowledges potential benefits and future possibilities.
But adds an important note about the FDA.
Crucial point. Unlike prescriptions, most haven't had that rigorous FDA review and approval.
So careful consideration and talking with providers is key. Things like mindfulness or yoga might fall here.
Exactly. Some people find them helpful for stress or well-being. It's about being aware of benefits and the state of the evidence and regulation.
Well, the learner, we have certainly covered a lot of ground.
We have indeed.
Hopefully you now have a much clearer understanding of these diverse theories and therapies in mental health nursing.
From reinforcement and cognitive reframing
to the recovery models, empowerment, group dynamics, the therapeutic environment, family systems.
These concepts really provide the framework for effective, compassionate care.
It really is the foundation.
You know, it's interesting to think about, especially with this shift towards recovery and empowerment, how the growing accessibility of online information might reshape that nurse-patient partnership in the future.
That's a provocative thought. More information available, reliable, and maybe less reliable.
What new challenges and opportunities might that bring? How does the nurse navigate that?
Definitely something to mull over. And of course, we've only scratched the surface today. So if any of these theories or therapies particularly sparked your interest, we really encourage you to dive deeper.
There's so much research, specific models to explore. It's a constantly evolving field.
Absolutely. Well, thanks for joining us for this deep dive.